Love you both. Been tuned in and with the IDW. Learned much about my own party. Trying to explain concerns with family and friends. Do you have a summary of concerns with supporting evidence that I could use as a primer to help them better understand?
I don't know which party we're talking about.
I don't, but I think it's going to be the Democrats. Given that we have tended to be more pointed and frequent in our criticism of who are supposed to be our own, feeling that we ought to clean our own house first. Well, making no bones about the fact that we're not Republicans and never have been, and specifically don't like Trump. But because we have critiqued more often what the Democrats are doing, I suspect that is the party in question here.
Yeah, it's actually a very difficult puzzle because I think people correctly intuit that if that structure is as compromised as many of us claim to know that it is, then they feel they have been left completely adrift, which they have. And so how do you convince somebody to consider the possibility that the structure that is the hedge against chaos is in fact functioning in a predatory fashion that is going to put us into chaos? So I guess my point is, I don't think it's the evidence. I don't think the evidence is all that complex. I mean, the fact is, the Democrats marshaled an absolutely appalling candidate in 2016, despite the fact that there was a very popular candidate on the rise. They sabotaged Sanders. Why would they do that? They would sabotage Sanders because Sanders was actually interested in change. Now, I don't think the change that Sanders was interested in is the kind of change we should be pursuing, but nonetheless, there was an awful lot of energy behind Sanders, and for good reason.
So that was 2016. By my estimation, they've promoted what may be somehow an even worse candidate in 2020 from a much deeper slate.
Yep.
I'm not excusing anything that happened in 2016, but there was this heir apparent. There was this, we actually have powerful families in this country, and we're going to let the Clintons continue to reign, sort of thing. And that's not an excuse at all, but it explains a little bit of what they might have been doing. And it's not even as explicable in this case to choose someone with apparently failing competencies, when there was actually an incredibly rich and diverse, in terms of ideology and experience, slate of candidates.
So I agree with you, and that's where I was headed next, is that they've done this to us 2 elections in a row is amazing. Yeah. But here's the thing. People, their minds will not allow them to make this switch, but it looks to me like it's quite straightforward. Mm-hmm. They prefer to lose to Trump than to risk actual change. This is because this is an influence peddling racket. An influence peddling racket cannot give up its saleable good, which is influence. Mm-hmm. If it decides to embrace a candidate that actually would stand in the way of corruption, then it loses its profitability. So mm-hmm. by putting feeble candidates up against Trump, who it claims is the great evil, right? If it really believed he was the great evil, then the answer is, who is most likely to beat him? You think Andrew Yang would lose to Trump? I don't think Andrew Yang would lose to Trump. I think he would walk all over him. Right. The authenticity is there, the insight, the decency, right? I've seen the polls. I'm still not writing off Trump. I don't think Biden's going to beat him.
Oh, and they're shifting actually as of this week.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. And I must say, in the few minutes between our initial hour and this, I saw an extremely disturbing, totally predictable clip in which Biden walks on stage and says, "I'm so glad to be at somewhere that he isn't," and then realizes he's made an error and dismisses it as a joke, which it wasn't. And it's like, well, if you can't get through the first minute of your, pre-scripted speech.
I am no fan of Biden, as you know. I'm more willing to excuse slips of, oh God, what if it's Tuesday? It must be Birmingham, sort of things. But once he actually has to start engaging real things in real time, like real issues, as opposed to, do I remember where I'm standing?
Oh,
we're going to see this all over the place.
Any normal candidate could have made such a slip. Right. That's not what this appeared to be. This appeared to be a complete lack of awareness, and then a kind of a go-to move to dismiss it. And the thing is, it's so regular that we see evidence of his failing mental capacities. Does anybody think that you elect this guy and he makes it 4 years in office? I think he steps down in 1.
Yeah. So who's the VP going to be?
It's going to be Kamala Harris, probably. And so the point is then we are signing up for, a situation in which we've got a stuffed shirt running as a stalking horse for the DNC's chosen candidate, who will not have been elected in the same sense that the top of the ticket person is elected. Right? This is DNC rule, which I find utterly frightening. Even before you get to the partnership they appear to be striking with
Black Lives Matter,
with the woke elements of the party.
Yeah.
So that's your party signing you up for an absolute disaster and potentially signing the country up for civil war. So how much more evidence do you need of the failure of the system?